Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm very, very delighted to moderate this session. This session is about digital agriculture, establishing AI standards for global food security. And this session is part of the first AI Standard Summit at the margin of WTSA. My name is Atsuko Okuda, Regional Director of the ITU Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific, and I'm based in Bangkok. And it is my privilege to moderate today's session. As we stand at the crossroads of technology and agriculture, AI is transforming the way we produce, manage, and distribute food globally. And this is a very apt topic to conduct or to discuss over lunchtime. So we can all relate to the topic while we wait for the participants to join us from the lunch hall. And as you know, AI has been rapidly evolving, and it's being implemented and expanding quite rapidly in different parts of society and economy, and agriculture is not an exception. And AI offers a number of very important functions to ensure food security, make the agriculture more efficient. For example, as we all know that there is already applications and solutions to optimize crop yields, enable precision farming, and streamlining the supply chains. However, the widespread adoption of these advanced technologies face enormous challenges related to, for example, interoperability, data security, as well as scalability. So what happens if the company introduces an AI system that may or may not be able to connect to the supply chain, transport, and so forth? So we have to make sure that these systems are seamlessly integrating and create the great, enormous opportunities that we want to see. And I would also like to add that today is the World Food Day, 16th of October 2024. And this is such an auspicious occasion to kickstart this AI and agriculture conversation. And we will explore into how standardization in AI can be the key to unlock the full potential of digital agriculture, to foster food security, and to reduce food wastage. And we are very, very happy to have an esteemed experts together today with us who will share with us their experience, insights, and the future recommendations for all of us as a takeaway. So let me introduce our esteemed panelists. First, let me start with Dr. Sebastian Boss, head of the Interactive and Cognitive Systems Group at Fraunhofer Heinrich Hertz Institute. I hope that my pronunciation was very far. Okay. So, very esteemed institute. And he has also served as the co-chair of the ITU FAO focus group on AI and IoT for digital agriculture. So Sebastian, you are working at the forefront of AI and digital system, and your work is highly regarded. And we look forward to receiving and hearing your perspectives on how these technologies can transform and be standardized for global agricultural applications. Now, after introducing all of you, I would like to give 2 to 5 minutes to each of you for your opening remarks. And then I will ask specific questions to each one of you. Let me then move on to Dr. Rajbir Singh, Assistant Director General at the Indian Council for Agricultural Research. Rajbir, your leadership in advancing agricultural research and development is crucial for our discussion today, especially in the context of India's vast agricultural landscape and its implication for global food security. So looking forward to hearing from you. And then our third panelist is Dr. Uraj Demirak, IFAD Country Director and Representative in India. The International Fund for Agricultural Development is a UN financial institution and specialized agency that works to address poverty and hunger in rural areas of developing countries. It is an organization that plays a pivotal role in international development and food security. So, Uraj, we look forward to hearing your insights on how AI solutions can support sustainable agricultural practices and what kind of initiatives you have in India. And our fourth panelist is Ms. Frances Lorraine Valdez, Director, International Cooperation Division, Department of Information and Communication Technology, the Philippines. She's a public servant, but at the same time, a development practitioner for more than 10 years. She is a rural development advocate with an expertise with ICT4D and community development. Lorraine, we look forward to hearing from you the experience in the Philippines. So as you can see, we have a very interesting mix of experts from an international and from different regions, as well as from different perspectives. So we look forward to our interesting conversation today. So to begin this session, I would like to give the floor to each one of you to share with us your initial thoughts on this particular topic, on AI and agriculture, and what you do, what you foresee in terms of what we can do. So can I give the floor first to Sebastian?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the kind introduction and for inviting me here. So maybe I take the time to shed some light on the focus group that you mentioned that I was co-chairing. So within the ITU framework, we asked us the question, so what is this digital agriculture and what can we do about it? And so we were thinking about identifying use cases and best practices, standardization gaps and guidelines in the area of digital agriculture. And for that we started this, this focus group 2.5 years ago. And since then we had 10 meetings, some of them hybrid, other ones virtually. In March we've been here in Delhi as well. We were very warmly invited by ICIR, by the colleagues from ICIR. And so we had quite a tremendous audience there. So we had over 300 participants in some of the meetings, and they provided us with close to 100 use cases that we basically worked on in this focus group. And those use cases, they were very diverse as well in terms of the technology use, in terms of the technological level, in terms of the region. We had use cases from all the geographical regions basically. And some of these use cases, for example, the ones that I find super relevant are like an AI-enabled platform to bring AI services directly to the farmer. Others were using side-link communication for some sort of Internet of Drones, you could call it, to bring network connectivity on the fields. And others were addressing pest control questions, for example, like bugs, like spiders in banana trees, with drones or with robotics. So that was the scope of topics that we received there, and based on that, we worked on several deliverables for the ITU, for the study group, and for the community to continue working on this. So we have a deliverable out there on the use case description, analyzing the best practices that we found to use digital means in agriculture. We have a data model that we developed as well that's out there and that's close to being standardized as a reference architecture, which is sort of interesting because if you have such a thing like a standardized data infrastructure, data architecture, data model, then you can actually tackle agriculture in a distributed way, which seems to be important because of the heterogeneity of this ecosystem. And I think this is something where my colleagues will allude to as well. So yeah, that was the focus group. Happy to build on this.
Thank you very much. So that means that the resources, best practices, and data models already exist. So people can definitely use and build on it, right? So I look forward to having these discussions and dialogues with you. So can we then move on to Dr. Rajbir to give us your initial thought on this topic?
Thank you, Bilal. At the outset, my best wishes on the World Food Day to all the respected delegates and my panelist friends. And the theme of World Food Day is the right to food for a better life and better future. That indicates the role of food security and sustainable productivity on the global as well as regional level. And I think everybody is convinced that integration of artificial intelligence with the emerging technologies in agriculture sector is a powerful driver for promoting sustainable agriculture and food security. For India, I will be talking about our country, India. You know, we have 142 million hectare cultivable land, which is the highest in the world. We have 140 million farmers, out of which 86% are small and marginal. So this is again a very big challenge for us. And we are producing 330 million tons of food grains, including rice, wheat, millets, pulses, like that. But on the other hand, we do have many serious challenges, particularly climate change, as you know, is putting a lot of challenges to our agriculture system. Resource poor farmers, because again, they are having very poor resources with them. So involving, you know, AI-based technology to the small and marginal farmers will be a challenge for us, particularly for capacity development. And then ever-growing population, so there will be always, you know, though India is a food surplus country now, but this is a big challenges in future also for food security. Now, when we're talking about the artificial intelligence-based or imbibed technologies, particularly Internet of Things or machine learning or the robotics, they can revolutionize the agriculture in Indian scenario also, particularly for precise resource management, enhanced productivity and profitability, improving the efficiency of inputs, particularly, you know, water, fertilizers and pesticide, and then definitely reducing the environmental degradation and footprint so that we can have a sustainable food production system for taking the challenge of food security for the country. I think application of technologies to optimize the farm input and output, artificial intelligence has a huge scope to be taken into consideration to monitor crop health, soil quality, water availability, weather parameters. All these have to be imbibed in such a way that we can develop such a system where we can help the farmers to produce more with the less, and with a sustainable environmental ecosystem that should not be disturbed, in my view. This is a point where we can learn many things from my friends also, which are talking about various experiences happening throughout the globe. So at this point, I will stop here and we will be debating on the points what emerging through the discussion of my friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much. These are very important points that you raised. And in all of this, of course, financing is key. And I'm looking at my colleague, Uraj, because he is managing one of the largest rural development funds of the UN in India. So perhaps you can share with us your initial thoughts and what you do.
Yes? Okay. Technology. So, happy World Food Day, and thank you so much, ITU, for having us. It's really exciting to speak to not the normal crowd that is dealing with agriculture day to day, but to have also these technology experts here. So, IFAD is an agency that is really focusing on the poorest, the most vulnerable, and the most deprived communities, rural communities in the world, and helping to not leave them behind and help them lift themselves out of poverty. So we are investing in rural people, as Atsuko said. We are a fund. We are basically looking at how can we make investments that help these people to sustainably lift themselves out of poverty. So it's about development. It's not about charity. And agriculture, obviously, when you look at rural poverty, plays the main role in doing this. So how can we really, and just you may imagine what a complexity that is, right? Like agriculture is dealing with a fast changing environment. Soils, the environment, the geoecological factors, the climate change that is now compounding all the complexity, the volatility, the uncertainty in this environment. Then we have market factors that influence agricultural decision making. And we have, of course, also cultural factors, because certain things that we believe make economic sense don't make sense in certain social contexts. So all this is very, very complex. And you can imagine it becomes even more complex when you go to smallholder agriculture, because aggregation becomes an issue, an additional complexity. And simply the small size and the ability to have a viable business plan at a very small size vis-a-vis all these complexities is very, very challenging. So in IFAD, we are trying to deal with these complexities. So our access to AI is twofold. On the one hand, we are trying to use AI directly to provide our target groups, these farmers and their organizations, with tools that can help them to make this transformative impact on their own development and on the food systems in which we operate. So that's one side. And the other side, of course, is that we as IFAD are also trying to use AI to do better what we do. Right? And there's a lot of transformations within my organizations with new systems coming up every day, new business processes that in order to really leverage this potential and deal with this complexity and do much better what we do. One area that we haven't yet fully exploited and where I think there's really also future potential is what Atsuko mentioned initially, all the systems compatibility and the possibility to really leverage AI and machine learning for better coordination amongst the different actors along agricultural value chains, right? Like AI to access finance. I know the government is now developing a loan UPI platform, but for accessing loans, for instance, right? Like and accessing markets, all these things, accessing services could be something. And then we've just had a quick discussion before this meeting how we could leverage also AI to really design policy nudges, okay? Little nudges that can help direct decision making towards desirable policies that we would like to see. And then on the other hand, we can also have some support to those who we want to change in response to these nudges, right? Like, so that we can really use AI to make better decisions at the farm level. So I think there's a whole range of exciting opportunities, and back to Atsuko to
Thank
take
you.
us through this discussion.
Thank you. I really want to hear from you how you see the standards in investing, because I believe that if there is a standard, it's easier for you or any other financing organizations to invest more in agriculture, right? I will come back to you on this point. I want to see concrete figures. So let me move on to my friend Lorraine, who can share with us your perspective and experience in the Philippines.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Atsuko, for inviting us here, for giving us also the platform to share with you guys, our distinguished panelists for today's very important discussion. Just to share with you, the first question actually is that what's the initial thought on this discussion? Just to give you an idea how important this discussion to us. We were just actually tapped last night to speak in this panel, and we find it very important. We immediately agreed to be part of this discussion because this is a very important discussion on the global level. I can see that for this panel, we're not just representing, I think, the Philippines, but also the member states of ITU, who has been very, very persistent and hardworking in terms of creating a standards that will really help us also in utilizing this technology such as AI. Actually, technology right now is it is not just a driver of economic growth. It has already reshaped the ways of life, the businesses, and more importantly, the interaction of people. To utilize the potential of AI, it's also important that we talk about the ethical standards of the use of AI. This is very important, I believe. Sessions like this, discussions such as this one, should be sustained and continued because we want these technologies to be accessible and can be utilized by all people without without it being weaponized at the disadvantage of other people. So as we harness the potential of AI, I think it's very important that we talk about also the ethical standards of using it. And at this point, I think I just like to share with you, of course, and we give acknowledgements and recognitions to all of the member states who's very hardworking in continuing these discussions, because I believe just recently in 2023, a lot of the member states has signified their support to AI governance, because I think in 2023 there is the Bletchley Declaration in UK, where several member states signed that declaration. There's also this Seoul Ministerial Declaration on AI that was just signed earlier this year. And to also give information to our audience here, the ASEAN Master Plan has also incorporated and also released the ethical standards of the use of AI, I think last March. And just recently, I believe, just this September, the UN has also released its final report on its recommendations on the AI, I believe. I think that was just last September. It's a very new report, and but we encourage everyone to take a look at that. The point really of my opening statement of this is that we really recognize, especially in the Philippines, we recognize that AI, along with the other emerging technologies, is really plays a vital role currently now, not just the businesses, but also as we deal with other sectors of this, other sectors here, the public sectors, the private sectors, especially in the government. I would be very happy and glad to share with you the initiatives in the Philippines and how is Philippines actually realizing the potential use of AI and at the same time balancing the security that it possessed that could be a cybersecurity issue. I would be also glad to share with you the initiatives that we're actually doing, supporting the MSMEs, the micro and small, medium micro enterprises. especially making AI, utilizing AI as a smart solutions to address real-life problems. So I think I can end with this. Probably we can discuss as we discuss, I can share with you more. Thank you, Atsuko.
Thank you. And I was in fact in Manila a few weeks ago, and I could see the very vibrant SMEs. And I'm so happy that they're taking up AI. And I think this standard, the discussion on standard is critical for SMEs because they don't have resources to develop from the scratch, right? So if the standards are already available, they can build the applications and services from there. I think we want to talk more about how we can more broadly take advantage of the existing standards. With that, thank you very much for the initial very insightful remarks from each one of you. And I am pretty sure that those people who are walking behind us are listening to us, as well as those people who are eating, because this is very pertinent to what we are discussing right now. So let me move on to the next round of questions. You have a question? Okay, can someone give the microphone? Yes, there are two questions. Thank you. I'm so happy that this is interactive. And there are actually another third question. So can you perhaps limit your question into 1 or 2 minutes? And I'll be happy to open the discussion. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is with regards to the sustainable investing model, which is picking up very quickly across the globe. Now, with regards to the application of AI in agriculture, while AI on one hand might help in increasing production, but on the other hand, it will also result in replacement of a lot of unskilled labor which is involved in agricultural sector. So, which might indirectly lead to increased inequality, poverty, and lack of access to food just because of AI, where production might increase but accessibility might decrease, and it might even increase inequality. So what are the fund managers who are looking into this? In what manner are they going to look at this aspect where inadvertently AI leads to further inequality and poverty? And the second question is with regards to the use of AI in terms of finding out the eligible candidates for funding, because in agriculture every case is very unique in itself. There is very high possibility that using AI filtering or AI mechanism for filtration of proposals, a number of candidates who might not be looking to be very attractive on the face of it would be would need actually human touch, so that we understand what the proposals are and then we evaluate them, because social investing is very peculiar in nature and it's not profit oriented. So how the fund managers are going to handle AI application in AI use in shortlisting of candidates for funding? So these are my two questions.
Thank you very much. This is actually a very good question. I'm so happy that you raised these 2 points. And I think the questions are directed to you. So the first question is about how the AI introduction in agriculture will impact the labor force and accessibility at the same time, because that may make the agriculture more efficient, but there are people who may be replaced by AI, and AI may or may not be accessible to all. That's your first question, right? And second one is how the Financing Institute evaluates a proposal for funding. Can I give the floor? These are very tough questions over lunchtime.
Let me try to answer them. And these are not questions I had prepared for, so you're getting my personal, and my view may not represent IFAD's view. But no, look, first of all, I think we have to see that all these people that we're talking about are people, right? Like, there's an approach very often, we are talking about behavioral approaches. I don't like this word, behavioral approaches, because behavioral science is more in the animal kingdom. Okay, and these are people who make decisions, and very often they preempt your decision whether they are replaced by something because they're going to the cities anyway. Look, let's look at the reality. Most of the people who have a choice, who have healthy feet, who are young and so on, are leaving agriculture currently, right? Like many young people are attracted by cities, are attracted by outside job opportunities. So the future of agriculture is not this heavy, labor-intense, plowing agriculture. And so I think we all envision a modernized form of agriculture, a dignified form of agriculture in which we use strategically labor-saving technologies. Okay, so drudgery reduction is one of the key words that we hear from the states where we are working all the time. So drudgery, we want to reduce drudgery, and we want to, of course, optimize productivity. We want to help people to work productively, to maximize productivity, to maximize competitiveness in the world market. That is a reality, whether we like it or not. And we want to optimize productivity to optimize their income levels. Right? So that's basically, I think, how we approach AI and any other technology innovations for the benefit of the people. Because otherwise, people will leave simply. Nobody can be interested to maintain the status quo. Sometimes we have this very very romantic image of subsistence agriculture, but I can tell you from all my experience over 30 years in working with subsistence farmers, it is one of the hardest and harshest livelihoods that you can imagine, and the most vulnerable to the uncertainties that these people are facing. The second one. So far, we are not using much. I mean, IFAD is working with governments, right? Like we are working very much in a dialogue with our members, who are also our clients, our borrowers, to scout for opportunities to really work together for the benefit of our target group, the rural poor. It's rather the exception that we look at proposals but we have one project here in India, where we have a challenge fund, where basically an NGO with IFAD support and support of the government of Germany has set up a challenge fund. And they are using AI for the first pre-screening because they want to, so there's a rationale for using public money, right? Like if we are using public money for a private activity like agriculture, there must be a public good aspect to it. The public good aspect in this case is, on the one hand, inclusive poverty reduction. So we are looking at how do these proposals optimize the long-term sustainability and the outreach in terms of how many people are reached with this benefit of this project. And the other part is really looking at how many hectares are we transforming into sustainable agriculture that is actually good for the environment and not exploitative to the environment. And they're using AI algorithms to do the initial selection. So basically just a simple checklist task. Because as you can imagine, if you're offering grants in India, we have 140 million farmers and so on. If everybody sends an application, how will you ever respond, right? Like, so you have to look at smart ways, but of course, your point is very well taken and valid. We have to make sure that really the human genius in these proposals is not getting lost and not being filtered out by some machine. And I think that's basically by defining the criteria in a manner that is leaving the space and leaving the pores open enough to go into the bottom of good things. Thank you.
Thank you. Very important points were raised by you. So can I come back to what I was saying earlier? So if he submits a proposal for funding based on standards that already exist, because they are made out of international best practices, right? Would you consider these proposals more favorably without standards? It was your question, right?
Yeah, means it's a further difficulty level has increased for the sir. The question is more difficult than what I asked.
Thank you.
Yeah, emphasize one point I need to emphasize. Like I would like to the Indian context. I would like to make everyone aware of. In India, agriculture is 17% of GDP. However, even today, 50% of labor force is involved in agriculture. So you imagine 70 crore, 700 million people are still involved in agriculture, and the contribution to GDP is just 17%. So you can imagine how AI can have an adverse impact on 700 millions just in India if it is able to replace the workforce. So I think there has to be a nuanced approach where on one hand we need definitely technology adoption is inevitable. Nobody can escape technology adoption, but the human element we need to take care of. That is what I need to emphasize.
Absolutely, thank you. Just 1 minute. I would like to also give the floor to Dr. Rajbir too, but please go ahead.
Okay, very quickly. I think, look, I would approach it from the other side. You're looking at it from the labor that we are putting in. I want to look at the value that we are creating, okay? So what's the point in having 10 people work hard for the same thing that you can produce without 10 people working hard, okay? If we can just be smart about it, these people can even have a much more dignified life and still benefit from the same value that we are creating in this agriculture. And I think that's really the approach. I think we shouldn't look too much at providing an opportunity to manage an inefficient input, but we should look at, from the other side, how can we optimize knowledge, complex knowledge, data, to make better decisions, to optimize the values that we're getting out of it. And I think that's where our entry point.
Thank you. Can I give the floor to Dr. Rajbir to perhaps give your perspective?
So, in addition to my friend, I think AI-based technology, what you are talking about, and yes, your concern is very right that 140 million farmers, whether they will be lost their job or like that. The question is valid, but in particularly in Indian condition, I would say the input use efficiency is very low. With the imbibation of AI and the knowledge, we can improve or even double those efficiencies that will directly and indirectly influence the farmer income also. We are looking on those points also. And then what he told that networking of all the sectors with the help of AI will certainly enable an environment which will be favorable to the farmers, what we are at this stage, what I am saying. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very important point. Sorry, very quickly.
It's a question to the standard setting bodies. Can you create a mechanism in creating standards to take care of these vulnerabilities? Like how can you accommodate these while setting standards, protecting vulnerability? So if that is there, financial institutions can be happy to look at that. Otherwise, it's
Thank
of no
you.
use.
Perhaps I can give the floor to Sebastian regarding what will be the opportunity that the process of making standards that we have at the moment, which can take into account the question on inclusiveness and those concerns of the vulnerable groups. Do you think that there is any opportunity for ITU or any other standard setting organizations to have that element in it?
So let me start with the meaning of standards for agriculture, because this is something that I think is very important to understand. So in agriculture we have like an ecosystem that's super complex, as you mentioned already. It's super heterogeneous in terms of business models, business scales, in terms of the ecological environment, the vegetation periods. You know this better than I do, I guess. And so this heterogeneity causes a very, very, very harsh challenge here that we don't find in any other sector, I would say. Even in medicine, if you go to the hospital, you can find like a set of surgeries you can find in a controlled environment on an almost daily basis. This is totally different in agriculture. So what's happening there is that you have a sort of, on the technological level, you have some sort of fragmented system where you have like island-like solutions that work very well for the specific island, but they are not really applicable in other contexts. And one of the reasons why it's not really applicable to other contexts is oftentimes, if not most of the times, the lack of interoperability and comparability between different models being used in different combinations elsewhere. And this is where standards play a very, very important role in the nature of normative standards. Because if you have a normative standard, you can say, okay, so now we want to build a system with modules, with pieces and bits that are interoperable. That might be a data model, that might also be something like a hardware standard or something. Here at ITU, we're thinking more about data models than about hardware, but connectivity is an issue here as well, obviously. So these are normative standards. And then now relating to your question, there are also analytical standards. So if we are thinking about what is inclusiveness, what is maybe sustainability, so these aspects, how can we actually define them and how can we then make this comparable and somehow operational in systems, then we could use standards for this as well, analytical standards that define us how to actually measure these sort of, let's say, softer components of such a system. And to answer the question, I think this is where standards play a major role as well, especially in agriculture.
Right. Can I thank you, Sebastian, for your very insightful details and information on the standards. And I know that the ITUT colleagues may or may not like my answer, but we have also a development bureau in ITU, and the concerns of vulnerable groups, digital inclusion, capacity development, connectivity, as Sebastian mentioned, are also dealt with from more, how can I say, socio-economic perspectives. So between the standardization work which is being done and development work which is done in a separate group, I think will make sense, and perhaps we'll be able to answer more fully your question. So I hope that this will be really the future of how we can assist as ITU. I'm looking at the ITU, TSB colleagues at the back. I hope that you are not sweating of me saying this. Okay, excellent. That we will collaborate more, yes, and to deliver these, to answer and to address your concerns. So thank you for excellent question. And I know that there were a few more questions down there. Okay, the lady first, if it's okay.
Okay.
Yes, my question is regarding the agricultural sector. There is a lot of unorganized, especially data, and also the adaptability is very slow in this area for especially new technologies like AI and tech. So in one of the international projects, when there is some deliverables, like we need to submit some data repository, a lot of it is not available in the rural areas, especially when it comes to agriculture, because it is done manually and it's very focused on the agriculture itself, and there's not any repository or data that is collected. So in this case, what happens is that when there is some international project that is being implemented, usually the implementers, they usually make up all the data and they just submit it. So there is a lot of bad data that goes into this artificial intelligence and the making of technology. So how do we deal with human integrity and data integrity? Is there any standardization for this?
Thank you. Excellent question, because data is really the basis. Sebastian, would you like to take up? Have you experienced something like this?
Yes, that's really an excellent question, because it brings us to the point of what I see as one of the major challenges in digital agriculture when it comes to the production side. Not so much, I guess, even also in the value chain, but it's very obvious in the production. So if you think about some sort of vertical integration. And there are actually a lot of data sets out there. If you search on the internet, if you ask people, there's a multitude of data sets out there. The thing is that they're totally useless. They're useless not because people are stupid or they did something bad about the data is bad or something. It's just because you have like one data set, you have a second data set, and it might be apples. It might be the same sort of crop. It doesn't really matter because the data format is so different. So you need to hire a master student basically to organize the data, which is something that you wouldn't do. So there is a lot of data out there, and the issue is that this data is not really compatible with each other, so that there's no other underlying ontology that's really strictly applied to the data. Also, we have ontologies like the agro vocabulary, for example. It's just not for the data sets out there, it's just not strictly applied. And there's no real underlying data model that makes the data that is used for the one solution sort of useful to validate another solution as well, because there's obviously then the link with the data with the AI models, because the AI models, they need to ingest the data, so they will be able to ingest the data that they are trained on, but not the other data. So there's a lot of this is again sort of interoperability between data models now, and this is something that's one of the key challenges, I would say. And if you think about the projects that are out there in agriculture, in digital agriculture, there are so many projects producing data, producing solutions, and here again, they are just not usable within each other. So they are usable for themselves, but it's very, very hard to actually let the solutions with the data talk to each other. Regarding your question, so from my perspective and from what we saw in the focus group, what we saw in our research project as well, it is really necessary to come up and to agree on a data model that's applicable for georeference data as you have in agriculture, with a specific use case driven features that you want to encode in this data model. And to agree, so you need some sort of forum to agree on this. And I guess actually that the ITU as a UN agency is the prime forum to do so and to discuss these things.
Thank you. So I hope that that answered your question. And if you haven't joined the ITU yet, please join. And there are a lot of good conversations happening, and all of you are invited. So please do join. Thank you very much. And I apologize, we have 9 more minutes, and perhaps we can take up 1 or 2 questions only. Sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I am from Indonesia, so maybe I want to get a sharing from all you guys panelists about the implementation AI in agriculture, that maybe like a use cases in other countries, maybe that maybe I can introduce also to the farmers in Indonesia. These cases that may be already done in some countries, and as you know, maybe you can share with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to? Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, you were asking for some use cases for farmers. Okay, so I would say just mining a little bit what IFAD is doing globally. I've seen three main areas of where we have good systems. On the one hand, everything that is about extension. Okay, so making complex information accessible for ready decision making by our target groups, by farmers in the field, okay? And there's different levels of one system, for instance, with Digital Green. They're looking mainly at language transferability. Okay, how can we access knowledge that is in English or mainly in English? The second one is maybe in Chinese. How can we access this knowledge and make it available in a place like Bihar, okay, where most of our target groups speak Bihari, or in Nigeria, where there's 250 languages spoken. And so that's one thing, and they are using this repository and this access tool to train, or as a reference tool for extension agents to interact with farmers. Then there's other ones, you mentioned precision agriculture and so on, where we have a much more direct interface, where basically, you know, telecommunication coverage is better, where people have more cell phones directly and so on. We have services that can be provided through WhatsApp and through SMS, using the same kind of AI technology and machine learning like we are doing in Ethiopia or in Rwanda. And since you are from Indonesia, in Indonesia, IFAD is supporting a project called TEKAD. It's the Integrated Village Economic Development Project. And so this project really relies on a very, you know, bottom-up analysis and decision-making process, because we want the communities to be really in charge of their own development process and to define the priorities for each of these communities. And this project has, in collaboration with UNDP, developed an application called, I think, Spark, which is used as part of the process for these villages to access localized information, analyze it, discern it in terms of specific opportunities and challenges for these opportunities, so that they can use this as a data point for their consultative processes in the villages, and then basically use it really to define the short-term development and investment plans that they will then request from the government for funding. So these are some of the examples. Of course, we have one more, a third use that is on rangeland management, for instance, where you use geospatial data, satellite imagery to automatically look at pasture health and productivity parameters that gives those who are leading herds for their temporary movements in Lesotho to really identify where they find the most likely healthy rangelands and good rangelands for feeding their animals. So these are very, very important daily decisions that can be that can really tap into real-time data sources.
Thank you for the excellent examples. Can I give the floor to Lorraine?
Yes, thank you, Atsuko. Actually, I also would like to contribute to the discussion in terms of the use cases of AI in the field of agriculture. In the Philippines, the AI is actually revolutionizing the agriculture sector in the Philippines. A lot of AI technology is already in place, and I'm glad to share with you that the Philippines is also focusing on prioritizing AI smart solutions. So the Philippine government itself is actually implementing some projects which I would be sharing with you. The project Sarai, it is one of the projects led by the government. This creates a crop advisories for agricultural products such as the rice, corn, banana, and among others. Its main goal is to integrate proactive pest and disease monitoring, nutrient and water management, and local meteorological data and drought forecasts with farm management operations. It's more of giving advices to the farmers on how they can, have a higher yield of their crops, depending on their crops, what's actually the product in the farm. Also, I'd also like to share the project Gul AI. It deploys plant box components capable of collecting and analyzing data through onboard sensor with the application of AI and statistics to generate plant growth models. So it can also be accessed through platforms, and a mobile app was actually developed for that. Some government-led supported agri-tech solution projects on the pipeline include the Project GeoMap, a geospatial mapping and information system for precise farming and smart agriculture. Also, the AI for impact-based forecasting and early warning system for inclusive finance and strengthening of the local economic development in rice-based communities. There's also a initiative that's currently being supported now, the mobile app Tabu, a mobile app as an e-commerce tool for the agricultural industry. And also aside from this, we also want to share that the Philippines has this law, the Innovative Startup Act. This mandates 3 government agencies to provide support to MSMEs. This is what I've been mentioning in my my opening statement earlier. This initiative provides grants also to encourage our MSMEs to develop smart solutions, particularly the tech startup. And of course, since agriculture is a leading industry in the Philippines, a big number of the tech startups are really focusing on creating smart solutions in the agricultural sector. Since most of them, the background really, they were connected with agriculture. Some of them are members of the families are farmers. So more of these initiatives are actually being strengthened currently in the Philippines. And the grant fund among government agencies is a continuous effort. And aside from the grant fund, the Philippines also supporting and encouraging tech startups to formalize, of course, they should know how to build their own startups so we have this innovation and incubation programs where we assist our tech startups because this is actually helping the communities, the rural communities. And just one last point I'd like to share. Just this year, we implemented the AIDEAS workshop. The AIDEAS, it is a hackathon where the students were actually encouraged. They were matched with the local government units, where the local government units will identify social problems in their community, and then our students, together with their mentor, will be developing a AI-based smart solution to address those problems, especially in the areas of agriculture, food security, disaster, DRR, and other areas. Even the simple issues of traffic that's actually inconveniencing a lot of people in the rural and the city level. So these are things I think would be nice to also share to the rest of the audience here and to the other member states. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent points. And I hope that your question were fully answered. And I apologize. I know that there are other participants who want to ask questions, but actually it's 2:01 already. We are over time. And if the panelists agree, perhaps some of those participants who wish to ask questions can come to approach you after this session, and please do feel free to ask these questions that we couldn't give you the floor for. But I hope that you all agree that we had an excellent, insightful, forward-looking conversation today in this very short 1 hour and bracket during the lunchtime. I'm pretty sure that the participants who are eating behind the scenes of this background also heard us talking, and there are extra participants behind us. So let's believe that. Yes, food for thought, thought for food. So can I propose a round of applause to the excellent panelists for today's session. And thank you very much for your participation and attention and good questions. I didn't have to ask the questions myself, so that saved my effort. And I look forward to engaging with all of you, and please feel free to join our ITU work in standardization as well as in development. So looking forward to that, and stay tuned. Thank you.